Hello, my name is Mark Williams. I'm a Professor of Paleobiology at the University of Leicester, and together with my colleague, Professor John Maltby, who's a psychologist, we lead the resilience theme in the Institute for Environmental Futures. So you might ask, what is an earth scientist, a paleobiologist, doing working with a psychologist? Well, there are really strong overlaps between our two disciplines when we look at resilience. I look at resilience in the way that life on Earth has evolved over long time frames and how the biosphere, life around us, will respond to future shocks from climate change, from human interactions. But John also looks at these patterns of shock in the human population, at the individual level, how we respond to shock in our lives, for example. And at the overlap between what John does and what I do, we think we can potentially find new solutions to defining better patterns of resilience as we respond to climate change in the future. So what are the challenges for our theme of resilience then? Well, we're here in the Attenborough Arboretum in the centre of the city of Leicester, and you couldn't have a better place to illustrate the crossover of disciplines between life sciences and humanities and natural sciences in trying to deal with resilience. So the Attenborough Arboretum is a wonderful place. You can hear the biodiversity around me. You can see that there's a whole range of native trees here. It's a really good biodiverse landscape. And that means it's got a lot of natural resilience because there are a range of different plants and a range of different connections between the plants and the animals here. It can respond to a changing Earth system as we go forward in time. And we know, of course, that the climate is going to change in the coming decades. And we also know that there are very strong human impacts on the landscape around us. Now think about this landscape relative to other places in the city where there's lots of brick and tarmac and concrete. You know, today that's going to be very hot. We're on a hot summer's day, but here it's cool. And this landscape is actually preserving the things it needs to sustain itself, preserving moisture, for example, in the ecosystem. Now this is a good place for life, for biodiversity more generally, but it also shows the overlap between John and my disciplines, John as a psychologist and me as a natural scientist, because of course a greenscape like this is not only good for the non-human part of the biosphere, but it's really good for humans too. And a place like this is essential for trying to repair people when they've suffered shocks in their life. And it's at that interface and the many other interfaces that we're trying to forge where we think we'll be able to design better patterns of resilience. So the Arboretum is a well-managed landscape. It's good for resilience. It's got areas where we can gather as humans and enjoy the landscape on the little kind of grassy patches around us. But in the background, you can see much of it's been allowed to grow wild. If you have a garden, please do this. You'll improve the resilience of your garden, you'll improve the resilience of the biosphere, and it will be really good for your well-being too.